Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mill and Sharma Show, a show that discusses a variety of subjects through the lens of civil discourse. I'm your host, Millen, and today I'll be reacting to a video from the Chris Williamson podcast titled Modern Wisdom, and this subject is going to be discussing bullying.
So thinking about trauma and stuff that you go through in your past, throughout most of school for me, I was pretty isolated, only child, pretty unpopular in school. And the main issue that I had was, it wasn't bullying, it was isolation, I think. It was being lonely.
Right.
And that was primarily what was causing me to be sad throughout school.
Right.
So I did this interview for the BBC about 6 months ago. And in it, I talk about, I haven't opened up that much about bullying. I need to do it more. And it is, even from watching you go through opening up about your traumas, it is inspiring. So I do this interview for the BBC, and I mention a little bit about bullying in school. And
So why don't you mention it?
I haven't got around to it yet. I maybe still feel like it detracts from the man that I want to be, the masculine man, the respected podcaster, that it somehow undermines me as a person, that it makes me weaker, which is obviously what was, part of the bullying's purpose in school, to be able to do precisely that.
I think this is Chris Williamson right here, for all of you that don't know. I think he makes a really good point here, and I think that's why a lot of people do not reveal their vulnerabilities from the past, the traumas or their insecurities that they've dealt with and that they've overcome. I think a lot of people don't talk about it and they don't bring it up in the present because they're ashamed of that. They're ashamed of that reality. But David Goggins makes a great point in saying, why didn't you discuss it? And I think David is correct. Dave Goggins is correct because it's important to bring these subjects up, not to dwell in your past, but rather share with others and say, hey, I overcame this. And David overcame a lot to be the person he is, and as did Chris right here. And just it's important to tell people that you've been able to overcome a massive hurdle in your life to be who you are today. I think that's a huge inspiration for millions of people around the world, around the globe, and I think it's important to share that story. So let's continue.
Right.
So I do this interview for the BBC, and I mention in 2 paragraphs or something, but millions of people see this article. And I get back one day, and in my Instagram message requests, there's this message from a guy, and I kind of recognize his name, but not fully. And I don't know whether you know, but there's like a character limit in Instagram.
Yes.
And this is 5 character limit messages long, with multiple paragraphs within each of them, right? So I open it up, and this guy says, hi Chris, you might not remember me, but we went to school together. I bullied you. My daughter is 4, and she's about to go to school. And given that she's about to go to school, me and my wife have been discussing about the kind of child that we want her to be. And that caused me to reflect on my time that I spent in school. I've been thinking about messaging you for a while. I've been considering talking to you because I really felt like I needed to, because I felt ashamed of the way that I treated you in school, and I knew that it had hurt you. And then I saw this article from the BBC, and I just had to reach out. And I've been sleepless nights, speaking to the wife, tears and all the rest of it. And I just wanted to say that I'm sorry. I'm very sorry for what I did. I wanted to let you know that my daughter is going to be raised in a way that will never treat anybody like that again. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if you'll see this message. I'm happy to see that you seem to be happy. But I needed to get it off my chest.
Right.
I'm like...
Wow, and before I continue this video, I just want to make this comment here. It's unbelievable that when you reach a certain point in life, when you overcome so much, that people are willing to be transparent. People are willing to grow. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not saying everyone's going to change and everyone's going to become righteous, valuable people and selfless people and respectable and kind and compassionate people. I'm not saying that at all, because that takes a long time to do that. As Chris saying right here, it took him a long time to apologize for his bullying ways. However, there's always a chance that people will reflect on themselves when they're in a position, when they need to be in a position of leadership. this man and his wife is having a child, and they realize they need to instill good values on their daughter. And it caused him to think outside of himself for another human being, which is his daughter. And it caused him to keep reflection because of a child. And I think that's one of the biggest things in society. The most important thing with having children is that when you have your own child, it causes you to expand your own horizon beyond yourself, beyond your own thinking, and beyond your own reality, to the point where you need to think about these types of things such as bullying, harassment, safety, school districts, learning curriculum. All of these things you need to think about when you have your own child, when you don't really have to think about those things when you don't have any child. And you have to be more responsible. And overall, I think it's seeing this testimony from this person that used to bully him, and seeing him come forward and apologize, shows that even people that are just very evil people that do terrible things to others, there could be a point where they can see the sun, they can see the light in the tunnel, and come forward and be transparent and apologize. And I think it's very hopeful for humanity that he shared this message, and that not everything is dark in this world.
I'm totally taken aback. Like, wasn't prepared for this. I've come back in from the gym or something, and I'm sat reading this message like, hell, that's heavy. So I go back through and I think, well, how do I feel about this? How do I feel about this person? How do I feel about my experience?
Right.
Because it was so formative, right? It shaped so much of the way that I see myself, the way that I see the world. I had to deprogram so much of the patterns that I'd learned through that time. My desire for validation from other people, my need to be liked, my constant vigilance, my ambient anxiety that I was always looking for what was going on, my concern of being left out, my adamant nature that everybody was able to judge something about me that I didn't know about myself. But this guy had like fully opened up to me, and I thought, well, you know, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful message. So I replied to him and I said, hey man, I very much appreciate you reaching out. I think it's an incredibly brave thing to do. And if me going through what I went through, and then the pain and discomfort and such, and your subsequent suffering of reflecting on what you did, if that has led to a world in which your daughter will be the sort of person who will behave in a manner that's going to make the world a better place going forward, I think that's a price that's worth paying.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's what my point was when I said that causes that former bully to be that had that painful reflection to the point where he was having sleepless nights and he was having tears in his eyes for the pain and just horrible deeds he inflicted on Chris. And the fact that his daughter will be taught as a child not to deliver this sort of pain and just awful treatment toward other children, I think is really important. And I believe Chris is so mature for saying this. He's very mature for saying that it's worth the price to see this.
That's a great story. That's a great story. And you're the expert on it. That's why you should talk about bullying.
I know.
Yeah, you're the expert. And that's why I do it. You know, that's why I become so vulnerable. Because all that knowledge you gain, because now you are successful. And there's so many people who are getting bullied in so many ways that, you know, you just show them that there's a path. But the path is really, like I talk about, studying the bully. That's the path. Studying the bully.
Were you ever tempted to?
I think David makes a really good point in saying that Chris is the expert. When you have this sort of treatment for months, maybe even years, you are the expert. You see the expert in their pattern, in the person's patterns of behavior, their insecurities being taken, like someone putting all their securities and their baggage onto somebody else. You become an expert because you see it in your life for many years. And when someone comes out of that in a much more whole wholesome way, much more whole, successful, and whatever that looks, whether that's a successful family, whether that's money, whether that's having good instilled values and feeling secure in yourself with confidence and self-esteem, etc. It's very important that you're able to share that story so that other people all across the world on the internet, that's one of the fantastic things about the internet, they can see this and have inspiration when someone feels so demoralized around them and they feel like the world's crashing down on them and they have nothing going for them at all. Chris was in this position, and he could tell them and say, listen, I went through this. I'm not guaranteeing that you'll be successful, but this is my story. I came out on the other side. So don't throw the towel in too soon.
To become a bully?
Never.
Let me rewind that here real quick.
Being the bully. That's the path. Studying the bully.
Were you ever tempted to become a bully?
Never. Never. I'm always, like I said, like I told you before this started, I wanted to be a priest. I wanted to be a priest, you know, and...
Could you imagine one of those sermons?
Oh, it'd be sick, because I would cuss. Because I would definitely cuss.
Praise the Lord, mother...
That's it. I would definitely cuss. I would definitely cuss, man, because that's the world. And there's a lot of people who probably hear this like, oh my God, oh my God, let me close my ear. You know, the world's tough. The world's tough. And when you come up the way I came up, the only way I can describe something sometimes is say, motherfucker. Because that's how dark this was. And I can't make it flowery. I can't make it PG. Like, oh, I want my kids to, like, I have a clean edition of this book.
You have a non-explicit version?
Yes, because people are like, I want my kid to read your book, but you cuss so much, I can't.
I imagine it's about half the size.
Yes, it's very small.
Yeah.
So the funny thing about it is, like, how long are you going to shelter your child from a world that's evilish?
So I'll say this real briefly. I agree with David that the world can be a dark place. There could be things that you see that you don't want to see. There could be things that you get exposed to that you don't mean to get exposed to. However, I don't believe that using colorful language is the best way to convey that to somebody else. I think you can be prepared for that. I think you can be prepared for the world without having someone interpret to you in a very colorful manner. I'll just say it that way. But he does make a lot of good points here, and I think some people do pay attention more if someone is using certain types of language. But I don't think that's the only means of communication to present that.
That's going to come at you. It's going to come at you whether you've been bullied or not. There's going to come a time when it's going to come at you. And it's going to be a lot worse than a motherfucker. It's going to be a lot worse. And so we are training kids and people to be soft in a world that continuously gets harder. And it doesn't correlate. Like that guy talking about.
I think David is 1,000% correct in saying this. We are training people to be soft in a world that is not soft, and it's hard. I mean, I just graduated from university last summer, and I can tell you the truth. Students my age in their young 20s are not trained for the world. They're not. Sure, they're trained with the skills, the soft skills, and the hard skills that they learn at university, whether that's a liberal arts degree, whether that's a STEM degree, or a music degree, whatever that may be. You're trained in the skill sets that you learn from at university, but the world is a very difficult place. There are many things that you have to navigate. And with the idea of safe spaces and the idea that critical debate is not encouraged at many universities, if you're not training somebody to engage with these discussions, there's going to be a time when they have to engage these discussions with people, with one person or multiple people in the workplace, whether that's negotiating salaries, whether that's negotiating ideas in businesses, in corporations. And you have to be prepared for that. And I believe that right now, a lot of young people are not prepared to have those tense discussions that are necessary to grow.
About the tear gas with the SEALs. Is that necessary? I don't know. But what is necessary is you have to build a person that can withstand the pressures of whatever they're going to be dealing with in life.
100% agree.
And we don't do that. I'm not trying to send a message of run 200 miles, be the best motherfucker in the world, but be tough. You better have a part about you that's tough, a part about you that can break down situations and get better. And break down situations very quickly within some trauma in your life, some devastation in your life, because it's going to come. The devastation, the trauma is going to come, and you can't allow that to become a Jersey barrier. It can't be a Jersey barrier. It has to be something that you can maneuver through very quickly and move forward. That takes a lot of toughness.
Well, I fully agree with David right here, and also I'll say this. There's so many people that have traumas in their life, that have hardships, and we're not all equal. I mean, everyone is, first of all, we all should treat each other equally and in society, but in reality, some people have harder struggles at a younger age than others. Some people were immigrants coming to the United States. Well, that's where I reside right now. But some people were immigrants coming to the United States. Some people lived under a lower socioeconomic status. Some people had a tougher upbringing, familiar situation. And their traumas and all those things that they dealt with, they had to go through more to be where they're at in life, wherever that may be. And that's why I believe that things that, like, certain people should create their own struggles so that when that tough time comes, they're ready for it. So the easy example I can really think of, and David talks about running 200 miles, which is the things he does. You don't have to go that far, but training your mind to go through hardships on a consistent basis, I think, is key. And the first thing I could think of that almost anybody could do is training your body to go through physical adversity. And that could be running, that could be doing karate, that could be doing a physical sport, that could be going to the gym and doing weight resistance training, HIIT classes, Pilates, all those things. I believe doing those type of activities and training your body in those formats, despite whatever socioeconomic status you are, you're putting your mind through adversity because you don't feel like doing all these things every single day or 4 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever that case may be. You're putting yourself through those trials and hardships. And when the time comes when something, crap happens and hardships occur that are beyond the gym, that are beyond the adversity of just physicality, that's when your mind needs to be strong. And I believe that sports has taught me to push through adverse situations. I've been an athlete for most of my life, from middle school to high school and at university at the collegiate level as well. And it's taught me time management skills, but it's also taught me to be mentally focused on a task for a long period of time. And that is something that sounds so simple, but it's so hard to do in today's market, in today's economy, in today's society, really, in general. It's so hard to be focused on a goal and stick with it when you don't reap the benefits of it within a given time frame.
Well, unchosen suffering is going to happen, right? So the only thing that you can do is have some chosen suffering to prepare for it.
It's the only thing you can do. That's the only thing you can practice for the unchosen suffering. Is that chosen suffering.
Absolutely.
Do something that sucks every day.
This episode is...
Yeah, I think that's the end of the clip. And I think that's a really fantastic example right there of you choose certain sufferings in your life on a consistent basis to prepare for the unexpected suffering that will occur, whether that's losing a job, whether that's a financial situation, whether it's a mental or family situation, all these things you cannot plan for, that you cannot really prepare for, at least through a script basis that, how do you prepare for this dramatic event to occur? You can't really prepare for it, but you can mentally put yourself through adversity throughout a consistent time period so that when that time comes, you will not falter and you will be in a position to come out of it as a tougher and more resilient person. So with all that in mind, I'm your host, Milton Sharma. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like, put the notification on, and comment below. And also click the link below to watch some podcast episodes on your favorite smartphone devices, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a variety of other formats.